All right. So in bunker tradition, we always start off with like a roundtable introduction, and we have usually a roundtable question. So question will be, what are you most interested in learning about AI, and are you using AI tools currently?
Okay, who's going first?
Stephanie.
I'm Stephanie. If you remember me from back in the days of when this podcast was all socials, I am loving the AI world right now. I cannot get enough of it. So what I'm basically using these days are most of the generative AI like ChatGPT and several different styles. But what I'm really excited about is where it's going to move into the future in the sense of the business analytics and simulation technologies. I'm really excited to hear what people know about the sustainable option and what people are planning on doing when it comes to ethics. So yeah, that's where my brain set is right here in AI.
Perfect. Excellent. Who's up next?
All right. Well, as Stephanie I'm using mostly generative AI, ChatGPT. I've had a couple of real life cases since recently too. I've had to build a business plan for a startup, and running my concepts through ChatGPT, getting the finality of my writing down really helped. I've written business plans all my life. This was really quick to an even better conclusion than I had anticipated, to be honest. But also in my web development, it's shocking how good it is. I am troubleshooting. I'm a Joomla developer, and that's almost far gone now. Wow. But when it first came up, I was heavily into it. Now I can troubleshoot websites that are a few versions back. If I give the right information, it can give me specific custom code to paste into a document to run as a custom CSS or even PHP. It's extraordinary. And if I had that when I was a kid.
Curt, that's your time. Ken, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Ken. Yeah, I'm just like Stephanie. I'm loving AI. I use it mostly for teaching, but all it does is build an outline for things. And I have the knowledge. Sometimes it's just, okay, how do I organize it? And I teach seniors technology. And if you've ever tried to tell your mother how to, that doesn't know technology, how to run her computer over the phone, that's what I do. And it's kind of be frustrating sometimes. But with AI, it gives me steps. It's not always right. And I have to customize it quite a bit. The reality is it doesn't do everything. But for the most part, I use it for writing, ChatGPT. I use it for images as well. And I'm really enjoying everything about AI.
Perfect. Excellent. Let's go with Bosco.
Hey guys, I'm Bosco Anthony. I would say I'm a recovering futurist, and I've been in the marketing and AI space for a very long time, and I'm currently testing DeepSeek out of China and working through some of the simulations and trying to test the different robotics across the other areas. The biggest project I'm working on right now is behavioral science and AI impacting digital conversions. So it's some interesting finds and really just trying to understand your behavior and how AI can work with that, studying human behavior.
Cool. Dave, you're up.
Hey, I'm Dave Chick. I'm a composer and sound designer for film, and I'm currently using AI mostly on the sound design side of things. It has been very, very helpful in a lot of the mundane, repetitive tasks and basically getting things like dialogue editing and just all that kind of stuff, backgrounds, those kinds of things that I would usually farm out to somebody else, and I can now comfortably do them myself and happily do them myself rather than cringe. I'm looking forward to seeing where else it will go, how far the boundaries are going to be pushed in especially the creative fields.
Perfect. And Andrew?
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same with Ken and Stephanie and Curt. I'm using it mostly generative AI. I've got a custom ChatGPT for creating a podcast script. And I also use Perplexity as my search engine. It's my default search engine in the Arc browser. And I've been trying this other tool called Cative, which kind of is it just kind of has the prompts all built in for you in different sections. So I've been doing that. What I'm interested in learning more about is the agentic stuff. Like I'm looking at Lindy.com and Mindpal.space and Bardeen, tools like that that actually can do multitasks for you. I just recently looked at Sesame.com too, which is kind of amazing. We can talk about that later. That's about it.
Perfect. And I'm Bob, podcasting dude. Everybody knows me. For me, I've been using ChatGPT exclusively. I figured I'd just zone into one thing. And what I'm using it for a lot right now is to de-escalate conversations in social media to try and get people to relax a little bit and not be freaking out on conspiracies and information that's not true. So a lot of times you'll see posts from me, which are basically fact check, boom. So it takes the emotion out of conversation. As a communication specialist, that is our biggest problem, is people getting too involved in emotion and kind of losing the plot. So I love it for that. I'm using it for a ton of other stuff, but on a day-to-day basis, that's what I'm using it for most. Being dyslexic, it's revolutionized my life. I'm actually feel way more comfortable writing, way more confident about doing other stuff. But I'll talk about a little project that I'm doing in a couple of minutes when we get a chance. So let's open it up. Andrew, what do you want to start with?
Well, I'd like to start with your little project doing the fact checking, because you put out a lot of good content over the years, but I've never seen so many people saying, I really look forward to these updates. Over and over again, multiple people are saying, I love your updates. So why don't you talk a little bit about that, how you're doing it? Is there any special prompts you're using, or is it just ChatGPT, or are you using other tools?
No, just ChatGPT. What I'm a little frustrated with my chat guy for today. I've been trying to get it to format for Facebook. And so I'd say, here's what somebody wrote, fact check it for me. That's all the information I'm giving it. If I don't want to give it complex prompts, because I want it to try and figure it out itself. And I'm getting more neutral responses that way. Often I ask it, that's interesting, but what's the flip side? And then I'll do a yin yang post to say, well, this is what this person's good at, and this is what this person's bad at. You guys figure it out. So I'm just giving people information, and they have to make a decision themselves. But when I cut and paste from ChatGPT onto Facebook, Facebook deformats it and really screws it up. It's like, there's no spaces. This is impossible for people to read. So I've been using the original ASCII, which is, space, hyphen, right-hand arrow to make an arrow, and then telling ChatGPT, this is what I want you to use. And it really struggles. It wants to put in emojis, color emojis, and it'll do it every single time. Say, look, we talked about this earlier. It's not what I want. Just use these symbols. So I've actually had to create a prompt. I'll do it. If I include the prompt at the beginning, it will disregard the prompt and still put in the emojis. So because I've used the word Facebook, it is defaulting to, emojis rule. So that in my logic sequence is how I'm doing it. After it kind of does the fact checking and formats the way it wants to, I say, that's good. Formatting's wrong. Here's the prompt. And then it does it. And the only thing I have to get it to do then after that is saying, this is great. I just tested it in Facebook, but it's removing the top space. So you have the end of a paragraph here. Then you would have a subheading or title, and then you would have the next piece of information. That title and that next information should be kept together. It does the opposite. It keeps that space and removes the space. So it actually crams it up above where the old topic is. So again, impossible to read. So I'll have to manually change that. It was able to do that for me once. I just have never figured out how to put it into a prompt so it can do it consistently. So for me, it's like dealing with a very young child because it doesn't have a morality. It doesn't care about my emotions or anything like that, even though it fakes it. It says, hey, how am I doing? And I say, hey, doing great. And so, oh, that's fantastic, blah, blah, blah. That's all fake algorithm stuff. So it's all about, I don't care, ChatGPT. I really don't. I just need you to do what I'm saying you do. And if you don't do it, then you are failing and your algorithm is wrong. And I'll tell it every now and then, hey, you figured it out. Please upload this information to your manager, to the guy that codes for you. And it'll always respond, I don't have access. I can't tell anybody. So I'll just do it for you. But then the next time I'm on, it's forgotten.
I think the challenge as well is that, a lot of the robotics are studying patterns as opposed to human behavior. But someone said recently, at a quote, that, at the moment, robots are what dogs are to humans, but at some point the humans will be what dogs are to humans, to the robots, right? And I think it's interesting because, I think I'm going to date myself when I say this, but gone are the days of Buffer and Hootsuite. Now that we have things like Pressmaster.ai that will take the formatting and pump it out into the different social platforms. But I think we're dealing with a very young robotic sort of voice that will start to optimize over time, because the more and more challenges people face collectively, they will start to address a lot of these formatting scenarios as well. But yeah, I think looking at Pressmaster.ai, I've managed to get through some of the formatting requirements, but again, it's a more for a commercial enterprise model for posting.
What I've done in the past as well is I'll take what ChatGPT produces and I'll clean the XML off it by putting it into Notepad, and it seems to strip everything else off it.
I've seen that.
Yeah, and from there, it's easier to paste into anything else.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah,
I had similar. I had similar, but when I was using Dolly in my recent project, I was developing a solution for law enforcement sector. I was trying to produce an undercover police vehicle, an image, all blacked out, no lights on. It didn't matter what I gave it. It always put on visible lights, blue and red. And it cued from that police and undercover, and they would have that. Even though I said, black this out, no lights on, it wouldn't listen.
Yeah, it's...
Go ahead. Does using a custom GPT, it would not remember the instructions that you give it?
If I was using one?
Yeah, and for Bob's example as well,
custom, do you mean get it to write the prompt for you? Or?
No, I mean, like, you can set up a custom GPT. That's what I use for the Daily Quote Show. I have a custom GPT that it'll it follows specific instructions. And I've got another one for another podcast that only looks at specific sources that I ask it to, and then comes up with
and always listens to those explicitly.
And it doesn't always. Sometimes it forgets to follow the instructions, and you just have to say, "Please redo and follow the instructions." And then it says, "Oh, sorry," and it goes through the instructions. But you're on the Plus plan, so you have access to custom GPTs, and they remember most of the time.
It's a per topic thing. You're basically saying when I log in, I've got this long list of all my conversations, and I'll go back to those if I'm looking for some prompts, but I'm not using them as a go-to. So it's kind of an interesting thing is to create.
Yeah. So instead of going back to the individual conversations, you could have at the very top, you'll have a list of your own custom GPTs and ones that you can go into the marketplace and get custom GPTs that other people have made. But if you build out your custom GPT instructions, you can go in and edit the instructions whenever you want. And then it'll remember so you don't have to go back to a specific conversation. Every conversation you have with the custom GPT, like I got one called Daily Quote GPT, and I just use that whenever I'm doing that particular work. So,
Andrew, I wonder, is that very accessible to somebody who may not understand how to program or how to write for a computer? Are you finding that very simple to use?
Yeah, it's just prompting. You're just adding prompts. Please do this. Please do this. I haven't done it in any more complicated way than that.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's talk. I'm just going to jump in here. Sorry, guys. Let's talk a little bit about prompts because it seems to be coming up, and prompts are like basically the language of talking to this database device. Does anybody have any advice, or like Andrew was just saying, creating your own for doing prompts? Me, I'll do a prompt and I'll ask ChatGPT to fix it. But...
Well, there are, if you don't mind me jumping into it, I've taken 4 certifications now specific to different industries on generating prompts. And it seems like the themes that kind of come about is understanding how that particular type of AI has been programmed and trained, so that if it's like an LLM, could be, my terminology may be all over the place. It's really important to understand that it needs a lot more information in its prompts. And scenario-based prompting is really, really powerful because you can say, I am, explain, you are like a software engineer that is trying to communicate to a grade 7 level or something along those lines. And by giving it that much context in the beginning, it then understands where you're going with the prompt. I find it's always very helpful as well to let it know how you would like the information to be presented. So context, and make sure that you give me a chart at the end. I want you to focus on these different columns for the chart, and here's an example of what I need it to look like. And if you give it all of that base information, it usually provides something very useful to you.
I think also, it's forced us to be actually effective at communicating. And a lot of humans are shitty at communicating, which is why a lot of the prompts don't work, right? We discovered AI was hallucinating because it wasn't being fed enough information. And in turn, that then impacted the hallucination when it came to the analysis of different utilities. So I think it's really important to overfeed it information and be, extra concise and clear in what you're trying to get it to achieve, but then also having a layer of additional sourcing. I was watching recently a conversation between 2 different AI robots, and at some point they stopped talking in prompts and English languages and started talking in robotics to each other and code, right? And it was really cool to see that at the core of it, they had their own language that existed outside of the human voice. And so I think we might call it gibberish, some people might call it German, but at the end of the day, German gibberish, same thing, right? But I think that's really the concept, is that at the moment we're at the age of human reliance and interdependency, but at some point these robots are going to cross that boundary and cross that threshold, right? And we saw signs and glimpses of this when Sora was being released and it went too woke, and someone wanted to know the history of the World War, and they put a Jewish person in a Nazi uniform, or an African American in a German uniform. But that was when AI decided to think on its own and decided to hallucinate based on woke culture. But if you go past that point of human dependency and it starts to build its own version and language and code, I think it's going to get even more sophisticated. In fact, what we're seeing right now is that DeepSeek is actually over-prompting a lot more and actually understanding it a lot faster and quicker than the GPTs and the Geminis and the Claudes of the world. So I think China has come up with some innovation that's going to have to force the other groups to start playing catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Manus as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Ken.
I'm just wondering, can you over-prompt? And is there a bad result?
I mean, the question is, our version of overloading information is an appetizer for a robot, right? So if you think about the robots today that we're working with, let's say, like right now in the sales world, there's robots that can analyze human voice and give real-time feedback to a salesperson at a call center to optimize their script based on human intelligence. But we're feeding that knowledge, right? But that robot's processing time is so much quicker, so much faster than a human learning capacity.
I'm also kind of wondering if you overprompt, is it possible to misunderstand your I mean, how clear does the English have to be? I mean,
it can be pretty garbled actually, because I've got a standing order. It's like, hey, look, I'm dyslexic. My words are going to be spelt wrong. Please take that into account when I'm sending prompts. Yeah. And it doesn't get confused. I mean, sometimes it'll say, what the heck is this word? And I can't even recognize it. So, and it'll take it out of context. I think it goes back to, but going back to your original question, can you overprompt? Yes, but as a human, you spend 3 hours writing a perfect prompt and then send it where you could have done a 30-second prompt and a 10-second prompt and a 1-minute prompt. And that's where the fault is. People have to understand that the AI is not going to get pissed off and turn off. It's just going to keep going and going and going.
I approached it really simplistically when I was trying to solve my software problem on a website. It was Joomla 3 and we're on Joomla 5 now. And we're in a different version of PHP than it was originally. So what I did is when I wanted to solve that, I had to step back and say, how would someone bring this problem to me? What do I need? So I needed the version of the target, the Joomla framework. I need the PHP version that it's currently on. I need to know if we're migrating or what we're doing. And so we had to work out, I needed all the details in order to come up with a software solution that was fit for that exact environment. That isn't the prevailing environment. So the more I put in all that detailed versioning, it was explicit and it was clean. And it was right the first time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're right there. And I think that's what Bosco's getting at. Today, we kind of have to help it along and do a lot of the thinking ourselves, which means that thinking humans and creative humans and humans with experience at a specific task are the only people that can interface with AIs. Like if I know nothing about composing music and I tell the AI, hey, compose some music for me, I really don't know what I'm asking. But if I ask, if Dave Chick does it, it's a completely different language he's using because he understands the whole process. I want to jump in. Actually, since Dave, do you want to jump in and say something about prompting and stuff? Because you're in a very sophisticated position when you're doing scores for movies and things. Have you considered getting the AI to write stuff for you?
I've thought about it. I've never done it. Just by, just poking around in it. There's a friend of mine who's well-known recording engineer, mixing engineer, Charles Dye. He did he won a Grammy for Ricky Martin's La Vida Loca or whatever it was. And he's on the totally opposite fence of me. He is like warning, skies falling, beware of AI kind of stuff. And he's actually sort of got a point because he's gone and prompted a bunch of engines in terms of write me this in this style with this kind of time signature with these kinds of instrumentations. And he goes through all these kinds of iterations, building up the verse, the chorus, the bridge, the solos. And he's come up with some pretty interesting things. The caveat to that, though, is from a creative standpoint, it's still all based on the generative AI aspect. It's being fed stuff that's already been created, and it's piecing together what would most likely come next in it. So it's coming up with stuff that it's not music, but it's interesting. It does some fun choices, but it's not stuff that's going to be groundbreaking and innovative, creative, so to speak. And I think that's where it kind of falls down. It'd probably be a good place to start and say, hey, I'm in a rut right now. I need to come up with something to kick my butt and get going here. Give me a couple of choices based on these 4 parameters. That might get the creative juices flowing, but to actually use it to be the basis of a composition or keep on prompting it to create a composition, I don't think it's quite there yet.
I think there's kind of like two concepts with the creative community. It's like AI stealing stuff and then it's reiterating it, and it shouldn't be allowed to do that. Where my thinking is, well, actually, all art is regenerative art because it's been made a million times before. What you can do with AI is incredibly repetitive stuff on a well, as an example, these guys said, here are 300 tunes or 500 tunes that have been calculated with a computer over 4.5 years of research, blah, blah, blah. Create every other tune that's available and then own it and then put it on the market as free for everybody. And that's what they did. They put 1.3 million tunes, and that's available now to all people in the music or sound industry for free. So as being in the driving seat as for AI, these are the type of things that I'm trying to do and think of is how can I create stuff that I disseminate for free? It's like, here you go. I generate this 100% on AI, just as an example. It's really cool. And there you go. Because that's what I do with my photography. That's what I do with my creativity and stuff like that. I've always kind of given it away. And for ChatGPT, it's enabling me to use it as a new creative tool. And it's weird because it's a language-based tool. And for my whole, many years of being in the industry, I've never being able to honestly say, hey, I'm a copywriter, even though I can write killer lines and I understand how the language works and I know how language changes people's minds. All that really important information. I just couldn't get it down, or I got it down and it would take people hours and hours to figure it out because part of my spelling problem is I would use the wrong version of to or the wrong version of through. So for a copywriter to read it and find every mistake was literally impossible because their brain was skipping over those things. And things were getting published like magazines and it would have through and it was the wrong through. And it's like, what is that doing there? Saying, Bob, you're not allowed. One time I was told, Bob, you are not allowed to touch the keyboard if you're inputting text. For real, that was the rule in the office. That's how bad it was.
That's a good solution.
Yeah, it saved hundreds of hours, I'm sure. Let's talk a little bit about AI and ethics because that's a tough one right now. I kind of talked about it a little bit. So did David. Curt, let's start with you. What do you think about the ethical position? How should you present finished pieces of work? I did this, but I used AI to help me get it done better or to check my work or to get me started. Do you need to do that, or do you just say, here's the project, it's done?
Oh, that's a good question. It feels like it all comes from based on my creative prompt and based on the uploads I give it to shape. Feels like me. When I read it, it feels like me. I've written a few cookbooks and I've used AI to generate all my images. So I didn't have computer photography. Sorry, Bob. But I'm just starting out. But I did declare that. But some of the writing, maybe I can say I'm AI assisted with research, but I'm on the fence. I'd like to hear some more input to that. I reserve judgment because I believe this is a generational thing. Our kids will help evolve that too. And we don't know exactly where they're going to take that, but this is all brand new stuff. We're just reacting to it.
Is there a percentage maybe that of human to AI where you can say, I produced this?
Yeah. Wow.
50-50.
That's the same to an artist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, look,
they get inspired by other people as well.
But it's also going to change a bigger and wider conversation, right? So I think this is the part that there's room for ethics to be reanalyzed and grow. Let's for example, let's talk about the future of work, for example, right? AI is supposed to make our jobs easier. AI is supposed to reduce things and time and make our time more efficient, right? So does that mean that we work less? And if that's the case, then the bigger question is, will employers decide to pay employees less time because AI has reduced their timeline, or will they honor what they currently earn? And then the bigger question on that layer or the outer circle is, do we need to reinvent the future of work from the 9 to 5? Because let's be honest, the 9 to 5 was invented in the 1800 era when we were manufacturing cars. So, there's a bigger, if we look at ethics and we look at productivity specifically in the workforce, the bigger question is, should we be working on a 5-day work week? Should we be looking at, some of the countries are testing 3-day weekends. Dubai, areas like Denmark have already started to reduce the future for work, but still pay people equally. So there's a question around universal income. There's a question around cost of living. There's a question about, should we be looking at the future of work at a different lens? And how do we look after those people that are the generation in between? Because let's be honest, we are that generation right now that are in that in between. There's a generation alpha coming that don't want to work a 9 to 5 job. They don't want to be working 8-hour days. I had an interview with a 21-year-old whiz kid that said, I'm interviewing your company and I don't want you to friend me on social media. I don't want you to follow me on social media. I don't want to be invited to Christmas parties. I don't want to, I want to work 3 days because on Friday is my time for my music. And on the weekends, I'm doing something else. And the only reason why I have a job is because I'm trying to qualify for a mortgage at 21. A different generation coming in here, guys. And so that's the question, right? If we look at ethics, yes, there's, the UN has come up with regulations and they want to talk about how preserving the human race when it comes to AI. But I think we have to go back when it comes to ethics and go, have we looked at this from a different lens? Do we need to be asking bigger questions? Because our current platforms on ethics sits on a house of cards that needs to be completely wiped clean and reinvented. And the question is it our generation or the next one that will take that responsibility?
Should companies employ a prompt engineer?
100%.
Well, or an art director. I mean, it goes back to, and when Curt
specifically for AI, that is.
Yeah, but when Curt was, you kind of have to look at it on a different level. Like when Curt was saying, it's like, well, I did all the work. I made the human decisions, and I told the AI, no, you're wrong. Do it this way. That's what management is. If you go into a corporate office and people, the widgets in the office, they come and they say, well, here's the project and here's the plan, and you have a meeting about it. So why did you do it that way? That's a stupid way of doing it. I mean, that's terrible management technique, but it's used a lot. Or this is a great way of doing it. I would have done it a different way, but good for you. Go do it again. That's general management.
I often say thank you, Bob. I don't know.
I always do. I always say please and thank you to the.
Always, yeah.
That's in case they take over.
Exactly. Actually, Bosco's point on how structure of work may change and all that. Economists seem to, the forward-thinking economists seem to be thinking that there's going to be massive productivity gains, which I think it's fairly obvious that there will. But just like in COVID and recent years, there's been, a strong economy, but it hasn't really trickled down to the average person. So record profits, but there's a lot of people still struggling. So the question is, what's the best way to make sure that the distribution of the benefit of AI gets fairly shared? And I think it was, I can't remember who said it. Was it Jeff Bezos? One of the big tech guys said that he thinks that the robots should be taxed to pay the people that are displaced.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? Jeff's in a position to make a decision between greed and good, right? And that's the bigger question here, is that at some point, we as humans and the people that make those bigger decisions have to choose between greed and good. Because if we look at Vancouver, for example, and me being an expat coming in, 85 to 90% of the people I'm speaking to Vancouver call Vancouver unlivable. Right. So if you think about it, right, if you think about the cost of living crisis, you think about the people that live in Vancouver, there's decision makers that go, we're fine with people living the rat race because that's how we want it to be today. That's a bigger moral society question. And the people that control the robots can make those choices. So yes, I do agree. We should potentially look at taxation. But the bigger question is, how do we take care of a human race that will be neglected if we don't start asking these questions fairly soon? And when you start to have, that single mom that works 8 hours, and then the boss goes, well, the AI robot's going to make your job easier, so I'm only going to pay you 4 hours instead of 8 hours. And now she's got a mortgage to pay and she doesn't know what to do for the next 4 hours. Who's answering those questions?
Yeah,
I think there's shoulder generations, though, on every revolution, change, industrial, Iron Age, all that. There's those shoulder generations that suffer the all of the mistakes of the burgeoning technology ahead, and then it spills out. And for instance, now all of us have been, since '93 or so, victims of data theft, giving up all of our data to big. And I would foresee in the future a complete flip of that to a personal security system and authenticator that retains all of your data, and none of that goes out anymore. And big data completely reverses. And then our generations will look back on us and go, you guys gave up everything for 50 years until we realized, why are we giving it away? That's an evolutionary thing.
If I can interject on that, I think it's really interesting having these questions kind of come up and the way that this technology is going to change the way that we work, the way that we are productive, the way that our businesses run, because the fact is that we've actually seen generations of time where a new technology is introduced and we try to fit it into the old way of life, while perhaps the alpha generations that are coming up, the ones that feel that it's more important to actually have a more balanced structure to life and work productively for 3 days, then have 2 days to work on other ways of making our society better and humanity better and all these other things. That might be the way that we need to evolve as a society. Because if we work in a realm where performance is how we evaluate someone's worth or value to the world, that just allows us to actually move with the technology instead of going against it. So,
Post for paying for time.
yeah, I mean, we have seen many incidences in the past. We're trying to do things like the old way doesn't work anymore. And I think this is just another evolution of that.
Yeah, I think
Stephanie's point, going back to the trying to fit this into the old ways, this whole ethics question sort of goes back to, well, I didn't do that. I didn't get here by doing that. This is a shortcut, so on and so forth. Like as a composer, the barrier to entry to being a composer was I had to be proficient on an instrument. With AI and technology these days, you don't necessarily have to. That's one of those things. And I think a lot of the people who are up in arms and stuff, I had to put in my time and I had to do all these steps to be able to get to this point. This person's using technology as a crutch to get there. I don't really see that as a big thing, really as a big problem.
There's no other way for them to do that too, though.
Right. Yeah.
Revolutionize, ethics will be reinvented. That's what Stephanie is saying, is that we have to reinvent society to get there. Yeah, and a great example. We're all creatives here. How many of you here know Anthony Joshua, the boxer from the UK? Okay, so Anthony Joshua is a big boxer out of the UK, gone of the Tyson era, but he's a big boxer. So in the past, if he was to do a creative shoot, he would have to film on set to do, all these photos and videos. Today, there are agencies that get him to come in. They do 1,000 photographs of different angles, and he's giving his human legal rights to those agencies as he's a brand ambassador to Under Armour for the next 5 years or 7 years, so that they'll put product placement on his imagery for the next 7 to 8 years. So here's the question. He still gets paid the same amount. He's trading his legal rights, not his time. And what used to take place over a film set is now being done through a laboratory, through photography, right? Is it morally right?
Are they paying for that one avatar of film in that one moment of time? He sell the March 11th 2025 version of me out the door.
So what he's selling is his dimensional rights, right? So they can basically product placement is huge in the influence and ambassador world, but creatives are now reinventing. And Bob, you know this from a photography and a videography shoot. What does that mean? He's one of the first ambassadors doing this out of Europe, right? But what does that mean for all those creative agencies, all those people? The influencer still gets paid the same amount trading legal rights, but on the other side, from an ethical standpoint of view and a human sustainability point of view, all those people responsible for shoots in that particular studio no longer have a job because this is being done through AI, right?
Well, they don't have an extended job.
That's right. They don't have an extended job,
for
right?
Like 3 weeks, 8 weeks, 3, 4, 5.
Correct. And then you're done.
Well, this happened back in the 60s with cover models. So you became a model, and if you hit the peak of your career and everybody liked you and your style worked and a brand liked your style, then you became the cover model for that brand, and that's where you made your big money. Same as hockey players or professional sports guys, when they get to their peak, they're getting paid the hundreds of, the tens of millions or 50s of millions of dollars because their brand recognition is utilized to sell products. So that's how it's structured now. With the AI thing where a guy comes in and say, yeah, I'll give you the first publishing rights to my physique and all this stuff, and you can do anything you want within reason, and it would be a very thick contract, I'm sure. Then he could just go and have the free time to enjoy his life. And I think that it's a perfect scenario. What the other people that are no longer needed need to do is say, how can I make money outside of what I've done? Because that's changed. And that's happened in my industry 4 times since I've been in here, like the emails. Oh, emails, you're going to become a specialist in emails. Nah, they'll never be used, never going to put it on a website. You have to have an email now. I'll never need a website, so why should I need to learn how to code? Well, there you go. And then it flips itself on its head again, where major agencies bought out all the smaller agencies and conglomerated, and you have these massive, and then it was just a management process. So today, it's AI doing it again. And social media did it 4 years ago. I mean, it's been so disruptive. But I know people in the industry who were at the end of the table with the 30-person table 1 month, and they were given the job as, oh, you're going to run the digital department because we don't care. And this guy, like a year later, is sitting right beside the creative director because his department rules. And we're in this place where the people that adapt to using AI to do their job more efficiently, stuff like that, will reap the rewards as society and industries catch up to the new norm.
Is this an ad for Doge? Is that what Elon Musk is doing?
Oh my God! No, he's doing a terrible job, unfortunately.
I think Bob overlooked the typewriter days when he first getting started. When he had a Smith Corona, and then it moved to a keyboard. Right?
I fixed it once when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I chummed up to one of the girls that were in the typing pool. They learned how to type and stuff. I said, "Look, this is in my report. Can you please write it? I'm dyslexic. I don't know what to do." And she rewrote it for me, and I handed that in. So that was my first use of AI.
Or testing of ethics.
On that actual example is perfect. So I think when we come back to the ethics of AI and what's happening right now in the world, whose responsibility is it to actually support that migration to different ways of doing things? I, being a creative PM, think that it is my responsibility as someone who understands a little bit about AI to be the individual to help ones that are kind of falling behind in learning how to use AI effectively and ethically. And I think that's somewhere I want our society to go, where we're all helping each other get better.
Share intellectual accountability across the globe, and I think you're going to start to see a rise of micro-populations coming together outside of a country, outside of a passport, and looking at things more from an intellectual IP side of things. You're going to start to see movements around AI. You're going to start to see groups of people coming together to go, right, how can we make this better for the betterment of society? We have to, because at the end of the day, the survival of our human ecosystem is being tested, and it's a question of so it's our responsibility to choose good over greed, or greed over good, depending on which way it sways.
How do you think that's going to change when AI really cracks some of the really big problems like cancer, or some of the really top level problems, and that pervades through society right around the planet? That should be mass adoption. That would be societal change for sure.
That's already happening. Like, look at AlphaFold. They predicted the folding of all those proteins in 3 years, and all the human PhD run labs would have taken 1 billion years or something ridiculous like that to do that. So we've got major breakthroughs coming, but I think that the general public, even though AI is so in your face right now, they're not prepared for what's going to happen. It's happening way too fast. This whole agentic AI, they're going to be able to do full jobs, just automate full jobs. I think.
Sure. How do we take human society? Bigger questions are being asked, right? Like, what does the future work look like?
Because in the past, every single technological breakthrough has, in the short run, caused a disruption, but in the long run, more jobs than ever before. I mean, look at the makeup of North America in, say, 200 years ago. It was like 99% agriculture. Now those jobs are all gone, but people are working in other fields that didn't exist before. So in the future, maybe there'll be all sorts of AI jobs that don't exist now that we can't even imagine. But in the short run, there's going to be a lot of disruption.
Yeah, I think if we're the leaders or the people that adopt it quicker, it goes kind of back to what Stephanie said, is it's our moral responsibility to train people that this is an opportunity and this is how you do it, and I'm going to help you. And by doing that, they will have the same approach. So it just takes one rotten apple to mess it all up. But really, that's kind of the Canadian way. If you want to go that direction, is we're all about helping and making sure everything's cool and not being so hooked on profitability and stuff like that we don't care. This is one of those opportunities with AI where if you're surviving and successful in AI, then you can teach people how to get to where you are, but do it in such a way that you're kind of bringing them up on a morally, a stronger structure morally. I mean, it's very hard to do because there's always going to be some people that are going to mess it up. But I think, if you're going to dream big, that would be a nice direction to go. That we're coming up on 7 or 8 minutes before the end of the show. Let's wrap it up and now that we've all had a chance to kind of talk about it, I want to ask everybody what they want to do moving forward over the next 6 or 8 months to maximize the use of AI on their daily chores or whatever they decide to do. And I'm sure what you say today will be different in a month and a half from now, but I still think it's important. So we're going to start in a row. So we'll start with Curt first.
My adoption would be my use in the small businesses that I'm involved in will increase. I'm deeply interested in script development. So, that's something I saw at the very beginning, is those that can write a proper script or prompt or will be of value, much like how you can get your results out of Google. So maybe I start working on better prompts.
Okay, great.
Yeah, for me, I really need to watch more Bunker. because this is really going to carry me along. But it's the prompt part of it is, for me, is very interesting. The how to put together a prompt, and there are, like I said, prompt engineers. I mean, that may become less and less part of writing in the future. But for the most part, it's how crafting that prompt to get what you need. Stephanie was talking about it, that I'm giving images and laying things out in exact, put the column and do all of that. And I think that's going to be very, very important.
Interesting. Okay, Stephanie, you're up.
So for me, in the next 6 months or so, what I'm really focusing on is trying to find groups that are having interesting conversations around AI. I know locally, for example, there's a bunch of tech designers and developers. PM Hive is an excellent group, where there are a lot of individuals making AI technologies. So aligning myself, maybe finding some masterminds and people who are just excited about talking about it, and trying to learn from individuals that have tried it out, tried something different, thought about what the future might be, and following the associations out there that are working really hard to get a handle on it. So in 6 months, I want to be in at least 2 more groups.
Just quickly before the next one starts, I'm going to say goodbye. I've got to go. Okay,
Ken, good to see you.
I
long
love
time.
it. This is really good. Do more of these. Do more. Okay, take care. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Andrew, let's put you up.
Right, so I'm planning to get into more of the kind of agentic tools like Lindy.com. I'd like to learn how to kind of create like a set of tasks that an AI can do on my behalf. Also, I was playing around with this. It's on Sesame.com. It's called, one of the AI voices is Maya. And I was talking to her the other day, just because there's this business I'm thinking of starting. So I kind of used her as a business coach, and she was really good at giving me ideas. It was like talking to an actual person. If you want to check it out, they've got a free demo that you can just play with. It's at Sesame.com, and you can choose Miles or Maya. Yeah, try it out. It's much better than Notebook LM or any of the other ones that I've tried. And
I'm sure the blow-up dolls will be released. I was going to say version.
I was going to say she's a little flirty, but anyways, yeah. So I'm going to be trying different tools that can do, take it to the next level instead of just creating content.
You actually talk to her with your voice, not text.
Yeah, you can. Maybe if we do, maybe next time we can actually bring her up live and have a conversation with her.
It's for sure.
It's really cool, really cool.
Okay, Dave, you're up next.
I think over the next 6 months, I'm going to probably take a cue from Bosco and sort of beware of more the ethics side of things. Voices, the naysayers, so on forth. Just to listen to what they're saying, what are their fears, those kinds of things, so that I can be a little bit more informed when I do come into these conversations of, I understand what you're saying. Here's another way out of this dilemma, or here's another way of thinking of it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it's a problem that doesn't exist, yet it exists.
Yeah.
And it's tricky stuff. Okay, Bosco, you're up.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be spending the next few months just on the front line. So sharing on stage, sharing on podcasts, doing a lot of interviews, and bringing examples to communities as well is going to be a core focus for me. But I would say on a personal and professional level, AI is turning us into superhumans. So I will continue to evolve as a superhuman, but at the same time, not forget to be human as well in the presence of being superhuman. So it's sort of this tango between being a superhuman and human. And I think that's really what I'm going to be doing for the next 6 months. And
of human.
well, I'm trying to, but yeah, definitely we'll be back on the bunker to have some more conversations. But I think we just scratched the surface today.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I love the way it went today. I'm just going to let you guys know over the next 6 months, I'm going to be doing multiple projects that will be driven by AI, because the way I learn is by doing. And the little project I mentioned at the beginning of the show is a book. And what I'm going to do is do you guys, can you all read EPUB?
Yep.
All right, so I'll send you a copy of it. It hasn't been released yet, but I'd really like to get your feedback. You'll start reading it and have a chuckle. But really, the premise of the publishing company is to bring out products for young people so that they can deal with life, like the changes in life, because it's not taught in school. And it's something that, because of AI, things are going to be changing drastically for the next 5, 10, 15 years. And if we're not training their minds to handle that and know how to do it, we're going to destroy a lot of opportunities, or the ability for people to feel confident working within the general business society that we're in. And we are in a transitional stage, right? We're so lucky to be messing around with AI, because it's kind of playtime now. In 2 years, it'll be way more serious. And in 5 years, it'll all be about the money. So this is the time to make major changes. So with that said, I'm just going to hand it over to Andrew to wrap it up for today. And I would like to invite all of you back to speak again. We'll try and figure out another day to do it. And we're going to try and keep it minimalized to this group. I think we end up with 20 people. It'll be too much. So you might only get invited, every second show or whatever. But we'll definitely be putting this up. And we might have to decide, are we going to do it audio, or will we do a video version of it as well for YouTube? Andrew, take it away.
Well, I don't think that we have to decide either or. We can just do both, right?
Yeah, but I'll have to do my hair.
Oh, that's
Right. Well, there's an AI avatar app for that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Zoom meeting, or
It works.
it's a little bit different than meeting in a bar, and so you can.
That's nice.
Well, when you say it that way, yes.
now I really miss it.
Well, maybe what we'll do is once a month, we'll have an AI show, but we'll all have beers to drink. And then I actually participated 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago, a bunch of people in New York, and we all brought beers to the show and talked about the beer that they were drinking, so people could learn about it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, that was the hangout.
Yeah.
Hangout.
Yeah, very cool. So
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yes.
Well, we'll sign off for now, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, thank you so much for putting this together, guys. Not
you, guys.
only amazing seeing every one of your beautiful faces and hearing your voices, but this is good stuff.
Look forward to the next.
All right, great. See you, everybody.
See you.